So, you know, but for the most part, it's always been kind of either a relief or it's kind of just
Indifference.
rolls off the shoulders, just
Yep.
like, okay, that's fine. I mean, it is what it is, you know?
Indifference.
So,
A lot of the folks that I come and work with, they're not thinking that they're autistic. They just know that they're different. Something's going on. Something's wrong. And I'm like, I
right.
think this is what it is. I always have that option on the table, knowing that this is a possible thing. But the folks that actually are like wondering what the fuck's going on, those folks, self-assessment, self-diagnosis is magnificent. But a lot of my clients don't come in thinking that it's a thing, right? They don't come in like, hey man, I want an assessment with you now. They're usually there for like social anxiety, burnout, suicidality. Straight up. That's what it is. And I'm like, oh, some other stuff here. Some anger, addiction issues, porn issues. There's a lot of like issues that come up. Eating issues. I got a lot of kids that come in with high anxiety and eating issues. Disordered eating. Not an eating disorder, but it's usually pretty disordered eating. It's called ARFID, avoidant restrictive eating disorder, some shit. Um, and so it gets really complicated. I tell people I have a really hard time, Spencer, diagnosing folks that are autistic that aren't white.
Mm.
Like, that's racist. Calm the fuck down. Because so many of my clients are white that whenever I get some black and brown clients in there that are autistic, the algorithm, I'm autistic as shit too, remember, right? Maybe you racist. Oh, okay, yes, and I own it. I'm racist as shit. I don't like you.
See, I knew it.
I know, I told it. It's the algorithm that I have of humans is always based on white identities. And so there's the things I pick up on white identities. So then when I move it to over populations, it doesn't always fit well. And then you move it over to different cultures and ethnicities. Now, is this autism or is this the culture and how they act and how they respond? It's just the way all the time. Like one of my clients, he's like, "Oh yeah, I hold my like father's hand when I cross the street." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
Okay. There's a bunch of other things that we can get into when it comes to like anxiety and stuff, but it's really difficult with international kids too, because it's a whole nother step that I don't know the culture.
Mm.
So now let's look at black and brown individuals, Spence. Like I said, it's harder with white folks. It's pretty easy with dudes to pick it out, a lot easier, right? I mean, none of the doctors ever fucking believe me that they're autistic, like the kid's autistic. I'm like, they are. This OCD, I've seen it. This anxiety, this stuttering. The kid literally is doing echolalia in front of me right now. But that's his OCD. Whatever, man. So it's pretty easy for me to pick it out with males because they show a little bit more severe, they call it, right? They show a little bit more traits or tendencies. There's less masking. Right? That's what my dissertation was. How do women differ from men? Let me get into women. It's much harder because all the different gender things that we talked about and the masking and like the calming and shutting up, like Amanda Seales talks about, being proper, being quiet, being well kept, being respectful. And then you add on another identity of being black. So what does it mean to be black? I don't fucking know. Does it mean you slinging drugs and listening to rap? No. Does it mean that you're just watching anime? No. Does it mean that you're reading books, bibliotherapist? No. Being black or brown or white is not a monolith. There's so much variation. So, but I look at my students that are black, and you're wondering first, like, is it trauma? Is it issues in the family? And intimacy issues, because a lot of black and brown families, a lot of intimacy issues, a lot of masculinity, which leads into a lot of intimacy issues. Is that the reason why they're eye avoidant, or is it trauma? Is it social anxiety and trauma, or is it autism? Is it maybe horrific depression they can't make eye contact? Where's the skills to like be with me as a person in the office? And for a while there, it was really tough and complicated. I remember one of the kids that you met recently, Spence, one of the homies, they're like, "Am I autistic, Nas?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't think so." A couple years later, and after my dissertation, I'm like, "You're autistic as shit."
I lied.
Shout out to you. Shout out to your little one. I'm just gonna call you a little one.
A little one.
Shout out to your little one. So autistic.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So autistic.
So autistic. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You know who you are.
Yeah. I told her, later on, but not when we were in school like 3-4 years ago. I've told her now, like, this is the thing. She's like, "Yeah, I know."
Oh,
It's like, "I know I'm autistic." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, good." But it's tough. Every culture is so different. And here's the thing is like black and brown bodies will get diagnosed because like Amanda Seales, super aggressive in this thing. Super aggressive, a little bit louder, right? I'm not trying to get eaten alive right now, but she's louder, aggressive, comes off mean, comes
She
off
says she's
volatile.
up. That's her thing.
Correct. And so, but a lot of folks with the autism spectrum aren't really good at monitoring their tone of voice. So I got a couple boys that just yell at me. Hey, my coworker's like, "You good now?" I'm like, "I'm good, man." Little punk ass boy, ain't gonna do shit now. And so he should be yelling. I'd be like, "Bro, you gotta chill, bro. Like, shut the fuck up."
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe she's got some tone regulation stuff. Also, it could be part of the culture too. But we love to label black and brown folks borderline personality disorder, which is an emotional deregulation issue. One of the biggest things is like fear of abandonment. Every autistic person fits for fucking borderline personality disorder. I'm gonna be real with you, especially if you're black or brown, because we're not taught to regulate emotions, Spencer, and we just pop off like my dad does. Like he's like, "All right, well, I'm gonna kill you now." So, I ain't gonna argue anymore because you did. And then you start talking, I'm like, "Oh shit, dad's autistic as shit." And when he meets his threshold, boom. Also, masculinity. Being in Flint, being around the certain areas, being really protective, masculinity helped him protect a lot of people. Then you go into the prison system, right? So you're not really taught these emotional intimacy and regulation issues.
Right.
But that's like pervasive, not just with my family, but all of them. My mom was the same way. Like just so many folks, they're aggressive. And so many folks that are black and brown will be diagnosed bipolar or borderline. My mother was, everyone said she's bipolar. She's bipolar. She's bipolar. Well, she had a lot of trauma and she was borderline personality disorder for sure. I was told a lot of things that were happened to her as a child that were really gross and horrific that no child ever should happen to. And it was done to many of the children in that family. And so that fuck you up a lot, man. In the brain, worth, love, trust, intimacy. So it was really hard for her to regulate. And she took that out a lot. And that's what led to a lot of her alcohol related issues, many other different things, right? Not a lot of friends, right? You're like, "Oh, maybe she's autistic. Not a lot of friends." No, she was so toxic. It's just hard to be her friend. My half brother was diagnosed bipolar, which I feel like him was probably true. I feel like he probably actually was bipolar. Could have been personality disordered and a shit ton of trauma from all this stuff, but I feel like he was actually bipolar. But back to the point. It's her aggressiveness can come off like personality disorder. Everyone's going to say it's personality. I guarantee you, if I walked her in my office, 9 out of 10 is going to be like personality disorder. And as soon as someone cuts or like self-harms, right, they're like personality disorder. It doesn't have to be that. They could just be autistic, and that's the only way they can regulate is through some of these more harmful things. Some of these are more intrusive, OCD, like obsessive, maybe stims. Working with this kid now. Love this kid. This kid just bought me a group Funko Pop and wrote me a letter, and like I was like, "You son of a bitch."
To the moon.
I was crying during eating my fucking lunch today. Fucker. I'm gonna send her an email tomorrow and be like, "I'm now gonna make you cry." Fuck you.
Right.
And I've told her so many times, like, "You're so autistic sometimes." I don't think that she is, but she could be. She very well could be.